You're doing everything right. You're posting daily, you're using the trending audio, you're following the 3 tips carousel format and posting really valuable educational content, and yet you're getting absolutely zero applications. The truth, you're making good girl content. It's polite, it's safe, but it's making your audience fall asleep. Instead, you need to be showing up like a disruptor. Today, I'm going to lovingly roast the generic marketing that's keeping you invisible. Show you behind the scenes of my disruptor framework that helps me and my clients sign consistent clients from organic social media content. And I'm so excited because we're doing our very first roast of the week at the end of the episode. So let's get into it. You are working way too dang hard, showing up and posting content as consistently as you are for it not to actually do something for you. And the amount of people that I come across who come into my inbox asking for help, who are doing so much work for no payoff, it blows my mind. There is no question that you're a hard worker. Absolutely no question there. Just wouldn't it feel better if that hard work actually brought you paying customers, paying clients? Because at the end of the day, we're not just showing up on Instagram and on Threads and TikTok for the fun of it. You might have fun creating content, but at the end of the day, you're having a spiral because your post only got 10 likes and not a single person signed up or even got into your DMs to have a conversation with you. I bet you wouldn't be spiraling as much over how many views you were getting and how many likes you were getting, the engagement you're getting, if your content reliably brought in new leads for you every single time you posted. So, today we're going to be diving into my favorite framework for helping you actually stand out while people are scrolling and people are, disassociating while looking at content and get paid. So, last week I was actually auditing a mindset coach's content. She's in my sales execution lab, and her content was fine. She was checking off all the boxes. She was posting consistently. Her content was pretty. Like, she had good lighting, good filming, good editing. Her graphics looked good, but it was like imagine a life with no stress. Listen, that is so generic. I can find a 20-minute YouTube video on journaling. The content that works really, really well at stopping the scroll and actually converting that person into a client are ones that are so, so specific that, a Google search is not going to call them out on this. Right. And like, imagine a life with no stress is so random. Like, no, there's no way I could imagine a life with no stress. I get stressed going to the grocery store. We got to be more specific here. Now, I want to compare this post, Imagine Your Life with No Stress, to a post of a disruptor. She isn't just suggesting mindset work, she's showing up with conviction. She's telling a story about what my hectic life actually looks like at 11 p.m. when I can't sleep. She is naming the exact experience her client goes through on a daily basis. We're talking zooming in to the hour by hour play, the minute by minute play, not the, oh, what if your life was less stressful? That is too broad. That's too vague. It's too huge of like, I just don't think that's possible. But if you get down into the small specifics, you take the problem that feels like it's huge and they're the only person in the world that has this problem, and you make them feel like, oh, I am not alone in this. And this person actually helps people go through this every single day. Maybe I should listen to them. The rule for all of your posts: when you name the problem better than your client can, they will automatically credit you with the solution. Stop being a good girl who suggests, like, oh, maybe you should fix this, and be the expert who actually calls them out on it. And we can do that from a loving point of view. Okay, let's break down my story led marketing disruptor framework. I'm going to give you 3 steps to follow, and these 3 steps should be in every single piece of content that you create. I'm talking your emails, I'm talking your reels, I'm talking your captions, I'm talking your carousels, literally your stories. If you're doing a story sequence, those two should also have all three of these steps checked off if you want to convert people with one post. If you want to continue to wait 90 business days for all of your content to kind of compile and add on to each other for them to maybe finally consider working with you, you can keep doing it the old way. But I really encourage you to at least try this out for a week or two and see the shift that it makes for your sales. Okay, step one, we got to become spies. You need to know the exact play by play of your dream client's day. I have this really fun exercise that I do with all of my clients where I say, pretend like you are the director of their movie. And you know, when it's like the 90s rom-com, the opening sequence, we see like our female main character is like running and like tugging on her ugly heel, and she has like the ugliest outfit on, her hair is a mess, she has glasses on, she like is clearly a single woman, and she's late, she like grabs a banana for breakfast and she's rushing out the door. That little opening sequence gives us so much detail into who our main character is. We need that opening sequence for your main character, your dream client. What is their opening sequence? Are they, if you're like a health coach, are they waking up, they're snoozing their alarm a million times because they didn't feel like they got enough sleep last night. They look at themselves in the mirror and they're like, "Ugh, I can't have breakfast. I need to cut calories." And they just grab a black coffee, which is going to spike their cortisol, and they run out the door. If you're a social media manager, your clients might look like it's 8 p.m. and they're sitting on the couch with their partner and they go, "Oh, shoot, I haven't posted today." And so instead of spending time with their partner, they're on Canva creating a carousel post very last minute. And they're also stressed because they have no idea what to post. And so their content is an afterthought. If you're an OBM, an online business manager, that might look like your clients are like consistently dropping the ball with like keeping up with certain client tasks. So their client retention rate is dropping and they're stressed out because they feel like they're so busy that their business in this position to scale, yet they're losing money because clients are not re-signing. These are the things that I want you to get really specific about. And also keep in mind that I talked a lot about how they're feeling, their stresses, what they're worried about. So I want you to name the exact moment of their day, staring at a blank Google Doc at 2 p.m., whatever that might be for your dream client. Step two, the step by step. This is where your framework comes in. And hey, guess what? I'm actually doing these three steps for disruptor content in this video. So you can back up and take a look of how I did this. I opened with the spy factor. I'm now doing my step by step and giving you what I do to get results for my clients. So this is where you're going to not get gatekeep. You're going to map out the process, but you're not going to give them the what. You're going to give them the how. And before you come at me, I have heard this so many times from so many different people, and I've always been like, how the heck do you do that? Like, I don't understand. But it's more like think of like you're a doctor and you're diagnosing what someone is going through. Like they have a hurt arm and they're like clutching their arm. I've done wilderness first aid, so this is like actually something we talk about. So they're clutching their arm and they're like, "Ow, ow, ow, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts." And you're touching it and you're like, "Ooh, I think you have a broken arm." Right? That's a diagnostic. So now then what you have to do is you have to suggest what they need to do to fix it. So you're like, okay, so what you're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to splint this arm. We're gonna have to like get the bone, back in place, and then we're gonna do X, Y, and Z. That's what you're doing with this step by step. You are diagnosing the problem that they have and showing them what moves they need to make to get out of it. But you're not actually like helping them do it yet. If they want that, they need to hire you. Step three, the proof. This is where you're going to share a very specific story of a client or yourself who had the exact lifestyle and saw results. So if you name the spy factor, for example, let's go back to that health coach who their client right now is skipping breakfast trying to cut calories and their body's all out of whack. So the spy factor, we're saying like you think skipping breakfast and only having a black coffee is going to help you cut calories, but this is why it's actually hurting your weight loss journey, for example. This step by step of your like you front load your day with breakfast, maybe like I'm not a health coach, but let's say you front load your day with breakfast. So they're like saying eat a big breakfast. They're not saying here's the recipe for that breakfast, or they're not saying like here's the recipe for that breakfast for how much you weigh and how active you are and your goal, right? Like there's a difference. And then 3, they're like, "I actually had a client just like you last week who was skipping breakfast. Her cortisol levels were really high. She was working out every single day and the number on a scale just was not moving, and all she wanted was to feel good in her clothes again." So, I took her through my step-by-step process, and after 3 weeks of working closely with me, she hit her goal weight, whatever. Now we're attaching proof to that story, the spy factor story, showing our process in action and that it actually works. That is how you create urgency. That is how you get people to apply overnight without having to take 3 months to think about it. Because let's be honest, those 3 months, they're going to find somebody else who can solve their problem. It's a content roast of the week, and I'm so excited. Let's go. Okay, y'all, I'm literally so excited for our first ever content roast. I love auditing people's content, and so the fact that I can do this for free and for my subscribers is just a wonderful feeling. And I really hope this becomes a core segment for this YouTube channel because the reason why I create this YouTube channel is to give back to my audience, to give back to you guys. And this is just, I love it. So, our first victim, volunteer, I should say, I'm going to lovingly roast people. I always say that I am like the big sister who's going to give you a lot of tough love because somebody has to get you out of your patterns. But I'm also going to be there to hold your hand and help you get through them. So, our first volunteer is Madeline Murdoch. With her Instagram handle is Mad Impact Design. So here's what Madeline said. I have a steady influx of clients, but I know that my social media could be better than what it is now. I feel like I'm focusing so much of my time on client projects and being a stay at home mom. It's something I don't want to spend a ton of time on creating content. So it would be helpful to know what kind of content I should be spending my time on. I'm also always looking to grow and improve, and I'd love to learn from you how I can do that better. Well, Madeline, I'm so excited. And I totally get that. A lot of people think that going all in on their marketing is like this huge commitment, but it's actually like so much simpler when you actually know what to post. I think some half the battle is when you're sitting down at your laptop at your desk and you're like, okay, what do I post today to sign a client? And you're kind of in this like, I have to create something that's going to be like my next mortgage payment. And you put all this pressure on yourself and then it doesn't do very well. And you're like, oh, fudge. But when you actually have a sustainable, reliable marketing plan that you can follow each week, it does not become like the center of your whole focus for your business. You actually get to take it off the like top of your to-do list and focus on serving your clients, focus on being a mom, focus on your family, focus on having fun. And so with that, let's dive in to this lovingly content roast. Okay, so looking at her page, she's got a lot of followers. She also said she has a steady stream of clients, which I love, but everyone wants to grow. Everyone wants to have more people. Everyone wants to have a wait list. So when one client finishes, you can be like, all right, boom, you're next. And that is going to come from having content that is dialed in. Now, she has a very clean, beautiful feed. But number one is she's playing it safe. Madeline, you're playing it safe. You're posting like every other graphic designer, web designer that I see on my feed. So, what I would like you to focus on is what makes you different. One thing that I saw just from scrolling is that you hand draw your own icons, which I think is So cool, so unique. I don't think everyone does that. So, what if you started creating posts like most designers rely on stock graphics, but I'm going to actually hand draw you icons based on your brand, based on how I see your brand. And then you can have these icons as part of your brand package that will be the heart and center of your brand for the rest of their brand's life. Like, I think that's so neat, and it definitely increases the value of the investment. So I would think of like three-ish things that make you different from other designers in your niche. And I'm not saying like tear down other people, but like, do you have any opinions, hot take opinions, that like some graphic designers do this, but you're not about that? Some web designers do, I keep saying graphic designer, web designer, brand designer. Some brand designers always say to do X, Y, and Z, but I don't agree with that. Why don't you agree with that? Come up with like three of those, or you can, one of them can be those icons that you draw. Two, all I see on your feed, and I'm smiling because this is something I do with every single one of my clients, but all I see is you leaning into showing examples of your work instead of calling out the pain points, which we talked about in this episode, or desires of the dream clients that you're trying to call in. So I would love to see, like, obviously, I love seeing examples of your work, but what if you built a story around each one of these examples and said something like, this client came in feeling like blank? Like, a common thing I see web designers do all the time, they'll say before and after, and then that's it. They'll just drop it there. But you could say something like, this client came to me and here's what their website looked before. Or you don't even have to show it, but you can be like, their website was an afterthought. Their website was embarrassing. Whenever they had to share their link with somebody, they'd be like, oh God, don't judge me. I hope all the links work. I hope the graphics load. They were like spending hours and hours and hours trying to DIY it, and no matter how many hours they put in, it still wasn't clicking. It still didn't um, represent who they were, who their business was. Then I went through then they hired me, and I took them through my process of I designed icons for them. I then, how do you pick out like the color scheme, how do you pick out the style? Maybe you get on a kickoff call with them and you figure all these things out. Then I implemented it, and here's what it looks afterwards, and that client is now get some kind of result. Let's do some more storytelling here. Tell us some more before and afters, like what your dream client is currently experiencing. Kind of dig into that of like, you keep saying you're going to figure out your website, but it's still not there. How long are you going to have this mediocre website when one session with me could completely change the course of your business? Have some confidence because you do some really cute design. The last thing that I tell all my clients as well is you need to sell more. Okay. I'm seeing a lot of good girl energy here of like finally sharing this one page design for this person. This was episode 1. That's it. The next one. Who else loves hand drawn icons? I created these for this person. Who wants some next? Okay, we can make that even a little stronger. Talk about like how hand drawn icons increase the value of their brand. Talk about how you only have a few spots left. Talk about how they can take that next step with you. Okay. I do love the who wants some next. It's really playful, but like, let's make it a little bit more urgent. You could say something like, how would it feel to have your own hand drawn icons that you can choose from instead of having to spend hours browsing through the Canva page and never finding ones that you actually like? Yeah. And then the next one, so you're just like sharing, you're not really selling in any of these things, which I know you're like, I have a steady stream of clients, but we can be doing more sales. Every single post can be calling in somebody who is a dream client of like, here is where my client, if you want to continue to share client case studies, you can be like, here is my client before, here's my process, here's how they are after. If that is you, if you are currently feeling like your website does not match the value of your brand and it's been on your list to figure out your website for months, my DMs, I'm currently booking for May. Contact me and let's get on a call together and start designing your dream brand. Okay, that was our first ever content roast. Was it really a roast? I'm going to keep calling it a roast until we come up with a better name for it. But if you want to be the one getting roasted next week so that you can actually start scaling and get feedback that's not just pointless, but like something you can actually implement and make money from, I have a link to the form in the description below. It's free. You just have to give me some details, but I am booking out for like 3 weeks in advance at this point. So make sure you get your name on the list and maybe you'll be chosen soon. And if you're ready to stop being the good girl and start being a disruptor, make sure you hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.